Hello there, my name's Marjorie, and I guess you could say this all started with a birthday party. Not mine, of course. My sister's. See, while my daughter was fighting to breathe in a hospital bed, my mother spent $400,000 on a luxury birthday bash for my sister. Champagne walls, drone light show, celebrity chef, the works. And when I called for help, begged for help, they told me they were too busy. But that wasn't even the worst part. Because that betrayal? It wasn't new. It was just the final straw in a lifetime of being overlooked, lied to, erased. They gave my sister a trust fund at 18. Me? Nothing. They sabotaged my reputation, tried to turn the public against me. And when that didn't work, they came for my daughter. Now they're the ones calling me, asking me to save them. And I'm torn between rage and resolve. How do you forgive a family that treated your pain like an inconvenience? How do you protect your child from the people who share her blood? And what would you do if the people who raised you became the ones who nearly destroyed you? I was rearranging the tiny library corner at my design studio when the phone rang, again. For a second, I debated ignoring it. Maybe it was another vendor delay, or one of those spam calls pretending to be the IRS. But something in my gut told me to pick up. "Hi, is this Miss Marjorie Hill?" the voice on the other end asked. "Yes, speaking." "This is Nurse Alicia from Rosebrook Elementary. Inez has been coughing persistently today. She says she's feeling lightheaded." The words hit like cold water. Inez had been dealing with a stubborn cold for weeks, but I chalked it up to fall allergies. Portland's damp air was relentless this year. "I'll be there in 15, I said, already grabbing my coat. That was how it always was, me juggling deadlines, design sketches, and parenthood. Running a boutique interior studio while raising an 8-year-old alone meant I had little room for error. But I'd made it work for years, even if it meant midnight paint samples and morning PTO meetings. That evening, as the sky turned a deep indigo and drizzle coated the streets, Inez's wheezing worsened. She clutched her chest and looked at me, her eyes glassy. "Mom, I feel funny," she whispered. Within minutes, I was in the car, racing through red lights like a criminal. At the ER, I tried to stay calm as doctors whisked her away. The monitors beeped in panicked rhythm. An hour later, a middle-aged physician with tired eyes approached me. "There's a congenital malformation in her left lung," he explained, showing me a hazy scan. "It's restricting her airway. We'll need to operate immediately." I nodded, trying to absorb every word even as the world blurred around me. "We can move forward tonight," he added, "but we'll need financial clearance first. The procedure costs $120,000. I blinked. "Excuse me?" He repeated the number. I nearly choked. "I don't have insurance," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. "We do offer payment plans," he added quickly, "but we'll need a substantial upfront deposit." I nodded again, dazed. My hands shook as I stepped outside into the parking lot, my phone in my hand. There was only one person left to call. One person I swore I never would. Darla, my mother. I stared at her contact for several seconds. Just her name made my stomach clench. But this wasn't about pride anymore. It was about my daughter. She answered on the third ring, music and laughter echoing behind her. "Sweetheart, how are you? It's been ages." "Mom," I started, but she cut me off. "Carlene's birthday is in full swing. You should see the ballroom. It's like a Hollywood premiere. We flew in the caterer from Napa. Can you believe it?" I forced a smile into my voice. "Listen, I don't want to ruin your night, but Inez is in the hospital. She collapsed. She needs emergency surgery." The line went silent for a beat. Then Darla sighed. "Oh, honey, that's awful." I waited, breath caught in my throat, but no follow-up came. "No. What can I do? No, we'll be right there." I need help covering the cost," I pushed on. "It's $120,000. I know it's a lot, but—" She cut in again, her voice light but firm. "Oh, sweetheart, I wish you told us earlier. We already spent over $400,000 on Carlene's party. We can't just cancel everything. You understand, don't you?" I didn't respond. I couldn't. My mother, who used to sew buttons onto my school shirts, who once held me after a bad breakup like the world had ended, had just said a party was more important than her granddaughter's life. "I see," I said quietly. "Oh, honey, don't be like that," she chuckled. It's not personal. Carlene only turns 30 once. I hung up without another word. I stood frozen in the hospital lobby. People moved around me. Nurses with clipboards, kids in wheelchairs. But I was rooted in place. When I finally blinked, I felt my cheeks were wet. Later that night, I sat alone in the visitors' lounge, scrolling aimlessly on my phone to feel less helpless. That's when I stumbled across a file I hadn't seen in years, an old scanned PDF from my email archives. It was a copy of Carlene's trust fund. She'd been given access to a 6-figure inheritance the moment she turned 18. My name never appeared in the document. No trust fund, no letter, no account. And suddenly, everything made sense. The lavish trips Carlene bragged about, the fully paid condo in Santa Monica. I used to think I just wasn't ambitious enough. But the truth? They were investing in her future while leaving me to figure out mine on my own. I sat with that knowledge for a long time, longer than I should have. It didn't make me feel better. It didn't make me feel anything. Around 3 a.m., a nurse rushed over. She's stable, she said, but her oxygen levels are dipping again. We need a decision soon. I looked at my empty checking account on the screen. My savings had already gone to 2 prior hospital visits. Credit cards were maxed. I stared at my reflection in the glass, and then I did something I hadn't done in over a decade. I called my father. The call didn't ring long. Just as I was about to hang up, his voice answered. Dry, clipped, like he'd just stepped out of a conference call. Marjorie? I hadn't heard my father's voice in over 12 years, but it was still sharp, still calculated like a man constantly weighing risk. It's me, I said, trying not to sound like a child. Inez is in the hospital. She collapsed. They found something in her lung and she needs emergency surgery. He didn't ask how she was. He didn't ask what hospital. Instead, I heard the familiar scratch of a pen against paper. How much? He asked flatly. I hesitated. 120,000. I don't have that kind of money. I've tried everything. Mom said, Stop. His voice sliced through the line. Your mother shouldn't have been your first call. Of course she was, because deep down, despite everything, I thought a mother couldn't turn away from her grandchild. But I didn't say that. I swallowed the lump forming in my throat. Leonard cleared his throat. I can help, but I'll need something in writing. I blinked, confused. What do you mean? I'll wire the funds to the hospital, but you'll need to forfeit your rights to the family trust. You were never officially removed, but it's better to have it on paper now. Clean. A long silence stretched between us, the kind where time stops and choices cement. So that's what I'm worth? I said, my voice cracking. A clean exit? You'll pay for your granddaughter's life, but only if I vanish from yours. He didn't deny it. Leonard, was this your plan all along? I heard him sigh, not in regret, but irritation. Marjorie, everything in life is transactional. This is no different. I ended the call before my rage could speak louder than my dignity. My hands trembled as I placed the phone on the bench beside me. How do you grieve parents who are still alive? A memory surfaced like a splinter, one I thought had healed over. It was years ago, sometime during college break. I had walked into my mother's study looking for stamps. Instead, I overheard her on the phone with someone talking about restructuring documents to simplify the trust. You understand, Leonard, she'd said then. We can't have it split 3 ways. Carlene is the future. She knows how to represent the family. Marjorie, she always goes off script. I didn't understand then. I thought they were talking about speeches or holiday cards. Later, when I tried to ask about it, they both brushed me off. Don't overthink things, Mom had said, with that saccharine tone reserved for people she barely tolerated. You're too sensitive, Marjorie. Years later, after Inez was born, I got curious. I contacted William Finch, an attorney who had worked with our family when I was a teenager. He remembered me immediately. In fact, he was the one who first explained what a trust really was. But when I asked if I was part of it, he went quiet. They asked me to draft a removal clause for you, he finally said. I refused. I thought you deserved to know. A month later, they replaced me. He sent me a document he'd saved, a preliminary draft, never executed. My name had been crossed out with a red pen. Too independent, it read in the margins. I should have felt anger, but it was something colder, emptier. They hadn't just cut me out financially. They'd erased me quietly, like I'd never belonged at all. Back in the hospital bathroom, I splashed cold water on my face. My reflection stared back. Hollow eyes, drawn lips, no trace of the woman who once believed in second chances. I leaned over the sink and whispered, "They won't help us, but I will." I opened my phone and started selling everything I could. My car, jewelry, backup laptop, office supplies. My studio space lease was on the chopping block next. I drafted an email to a former client, offering to subcontract the biggest project of the quarter, one that was supposed to be my breakthrough. As I pressed send, something shifted inside me. This wasn't defeat. It was something else. Something sharper. If I had to burn my old life down to save hers, I'd do it gladly. On my way back to Inez's room, my phone buzzed. The name on the screen stopped me in my tracks. It was Jonah Perez. I hadn't heard from him since 2013. We'd worked together briefly before he moved across the country. The last time we spoke, I had just given birth to Inez. What could he possibly want now? I hesitated, then answered, "Marjorie?" His voice was warm, surprised. "It's been a while. I saw the fundraiser someone started for your daughter." I blinked, caught off guard. "I didn't start anything." "Then you should know it's going viral. And I sent something. It's not much, but check your email. I hope it helps." I checked my email seconds after Jonah hung up. His name sat in bold at the top of my inbox, the subject line reading, "Hope it helps." Attached was a transaction notification. $3,000. No questions, no hesitation, just sent. I blinked at the screen, my mind fogged by 2 nights of hospital chairs and fluorescent lighting. Was it real? I read it again, and then again. He didn't even wait for me to ask. There wasn't a single word about payback, just a simple note. She deserves to live. And we, desperately needed that kind of grace. Jonah had always been reserved. I'd mentored him years ago, back when he was a shy intern struggling to assert himself in client meetings. He never said much, but he always listened, really listened. I guess some people grow into quiet heroes. That night, he was mine. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. Jonah had launched a fundraiser. I found the post on his page, an old photo of Inez from her kindergarten recital. Pink dress, tiny ukulele, one front tooth missing. She looked so full of light it made my chest ache. His caption read, "She's the daughter of the woman who taught me how to lead with integrity. Let's help her breathe again." I don't know what I expected. Maybe a few kind words, a couple donations at best. But by morning, the donations began trickling in. First a 20, then 50, 100. Some from old clients who remembered the work I'd done. A few from strangers I'd never met. People left comments like, "No child should have to suffer because healthcare is broken." "Sending love from Ohio." "Hang in there, mama." Each donation felt like a life preserver tossed into a rising tide. I sat by Inez's bedside, her little hand resting in mine, and scrolled through every name on the donor list. I didn't know most of them, but each one meant something. Each one was a tiny spark of hope. For the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to believe we might actually get through this. That hope lasted 48 hours. It started with a shift in tone, subtle at first. The comments beneath Jonah's post changed. Questions popped up. Why isn't her husband helping? Where's her real family? How do we know this isn't another fake story? At first I brushed it off. Online trolls were nothing new. I'd seen kind-hearted causes torn to shreds over minor missteps, but this felt different, more coordinated, more personal. Then I saw the story. Carlene's Instagram, champagne glass, cupcake tower, gold lettering in the background spelling her name. The overlay text? "Some people will fake anything these days, even a crisis. Stay vigilant, folks." She didn't tag me. She didn't have to. Anyone who knew us, even vaguely, could put the pieces together. Her followers certainly did. They jumped into the comments like wolves. By nightfall, the post had been picked up by a gossip account with over 500,000 followers. The caption? "Carlene hints at family drama, Older sister accused of faking daughter's illness for cash. The comments were brutal. She's always been dramatic. Didn't she fail at her last business? Desperate much? The worst part? A hashtag started trending. #sick for sympathy. I sat in the hospital cafeteria, a half-eaten sandwich congealing on the tray beside me, and scrolled through the posts with numb fingers. My face, my pain, had become someone's mid-scroll entertainment. They didn't see the oxygen machine ticking beside Inez's bed. They didn't hear the panic in her breathing or the quiet prayers I whispered every night. All they saw was a story they could twist into memes and mockery. I told myself not to care, that none of it mattered, that what mattered was Inez. But then I walked back into her room, and the nurse looked at me differently. Not unkind, just cautious. She hesitated, then said, "We've had a few calls, people asking if her case is real." I froze. I wanted to scream, to rip open the blinds and shout, "Come see for yourself. See her hooked up to these wires. Look at her and tell me this is fake." But I didn't. Because when your own sister publicly casts doubt on your story, strangers take it as permission to do the same. Later that evening, I got a message in my work inbox. It was from a client I'd been collaborating with for over a year, a local kindergarten redesign, a project I'd put heart and soul into. We'd nearly finalized the plans. Just last week, they'd asked me to present to the board. Their message was short, clinical. Due to recent online attention and reputational risk, we are terminating our partnership effective immediately. I reread the sentence at least 5 times, waiting for my brain to reject it. But it didn't. It just sat there, cold and final. I didn't cry. I didn't move. I just stared, hollowed out and still. They weren't just trying to humiliate me. They were trying to erase me. For the next 2 nights, I barely left the hospital. I took calls in the hallway, answered emails from the back stairwell, and slept sitting upright in the blue vinyl chair next to Inez's bed. Her breathing had steadied, but the oxygen tube still hugged her face like a second skin. When I wasn't comforting her, I was trying to figure out how to keep our lives from collapsing completely. My studio's main contract was gone. That kindergarten project wasn't just income, it was credibility. Losing it meant every potential client would see me as a risk. I called 3 of them to reassure them. 1 didn't pick up. The other 2 gave me polite brush-offs and promised to reevaluate next quarter. But we both knew what that meant. Then the bank called. I missed the first attempt. I was helping Inez sip water when my phone buzzed. By the time I returned the call, the voice on the other end was direct and disinterested. "You've missed 2 payments on the lease. If we don't receive a minimum balance by next Friday, we'll have to begin proceedings." I said, "I understand," even though I didn't. That afternoon, I made a spreadsheet. I listed everything I could sell. My car, already posted online. Jewelry from my mother's passed down with love collection. That felt laughable now. My dining table. 2 vintage chairs I used to joke would be my retirement plan. A bookshelf, an iPad, even my grandmother's sewing machine. Inez needed to breathe. If I had to give up every piece of comfort I had left, so be it. The following morning, I arrived at the hospital early. The sun hadn't risen yet. The air outside was biting. I was halfway through folding one of the hospital blankets when someone knocked gently on the doorframe. Theo. He walked in slowly, carrying a brown paper bag from the grocery store and a folded lavender blanket tucked under his arm. "I figured you haven't been home in a while," he said quietly. I didn't realize how badly I needed a familiar face until I saw him standing there in that old peacoat, like nothing in the world could shake him. "Is she awake?" he asked, peeking toward Inez. "Just resting." He pulled out some essentials: applesauce cups, granola bars, hand wipes, a new toothbrush. Then without a word, he unfolded the blanket and laid it gently over Inez's legs. He didn't ask questions. He didn't pry. And that silence, that quiet presence, said more than any speech could have. As we stood there, the door opened again. This time it was Avis and Dorian. Avis wore a soft smile, holding a thermos in both hands. Dorian followed with a large box wrapped in blue paper. He set it down without explanation. I didn't need one. They had come, not out of obligation, but love. I offered them chairs. We sat around Inez while she dozed, talking in hushed tones about anything but what was happening. Later, As Theo took Inez to the common room for her daily walk, Avis asked me to join her in the hallway. Her tone changed, serious, steady. "Marjorie," she said, "we have something to tell you." I braced myself. "We sold our house." My breath caught. "Wait, what? You can't, why would you?" Dorian stepped beside her. "Because she's our granddaughter, and because you're our daughter, even if no paperwork ever said so." My knees buckled. I leaned against the wall for balance. "You'll stay in our place until you're back on your feet," Avis added. "And before you ask, we already signed the contract. No turning back." I tried to speak, but nothing came. She gently placed her hand over mine. "A house can be rebuilt, but you're our home." And then, like she'd been waiting for the right moment all along, she reached into her purse and pulled out a folded document. "This," she said, "is a lease agreement I co-signed on your studio months ago. I didn't want to interfere. I just wanted you to have a net if you ever needed it." It took me a moment to understand. She had guaranteed the space, for me, long before the drama, long before the world turned against me. Because some people see you even when you're invisible to others. I hugged them both in the hallway, tears silent and hot on my cheeks. Theo stood nearby, watching us with kind eyes. As I exhaled into Avis's shoulder, I realized something I hadn't dared admit until then. "I know who my real family is now," I whispered. And just as I said it, I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not grief. Peace. But the past doesn't let go just because you've found peace. The next morning, I was folding Inez's clothes at the end of her hospital bed when my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in years. Mom. My hand hovered above the screen. For a moment, I debated letting it ring, but curiosity got the better of me. I picked up. Her voice was soft, broken almost. "Marjorie, we need help." She didn't say hello. No fake warmth, no pleasantries. "The bank's going to take the house," she said. "Your father won't admit it, but we're out of time. If we don't find the money this week, it's gone." I didn't speak. She added quickly, "I know how it sounds, but I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. We thought maybe you could help us." That word, we. As if there'd ever been a united front when I was the one bleeding. My throat felt tight, but my voice came out even. "You're asking me?" Darla hesitated. "Yes, I know it's a lot. But if there's any way..." I hung up. Not out of rage, not even sadness. Just done. Later that day, I walked to the hospital garden for a minute of air. I was halfway through a cup of weak coffee when my old neighbor, Rebecca, texted me a screenshot. Carlene's texts. They were in a group chat, sent to someone Rebecca knew from work, who had posted about the fundraiser online. Somehow, they'd leaked. Carlene had written, "If we don't get ahead of this, our name is going to be dragged for years. We need to flip the script. Then, let Mom cry poor. Let Dad act distant. I'll post something sentimental later, maybe even an apology. Damage control is about timing. And finally, she can't outlast us. She never could." My fingers tightened around my phone. For a second, I thought I might crush it. This wasn't about reconciliation. It was PR. My own sister, my mother, my father. They weren't crawling back because of guilt. They were drowning in their own mess and thought I'd be too desperate to notice the difference. They didn't want forgiveness. They wanted a reset, the kind where they came out looking clean. That night, I waited until Inez was asleep. Then I sat in the apartment's living room, facing the dim glow of my laptop. I turned on the webcam and pressed record. No filters, no edits, just me. "If you're calling me for help," I began, "you already know who has the power now." I paused, not for effect, but because I needed to feel every word. And I'm not afraid to use it. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry, but my stare didn't flinch once. "You told the world I was dramatic, that I was lying, that I was reaching for sympathy, and now you want to pretend this never happened?" I leaned closer. "No." I clicked stop. Attached the file to an email, sent it to all three of them. No subject line, no message, just the truth. The family group chat, one I hadn't seen light up since 2014, went dead silent. No response. No dots indicating someone was typing. Just the ghost of their shame, sitting in my inbox like an unfinished sentence. I shut the laptop. It was after midnight when I heard my email ping again. I hesitated, then opened it. A new message, from my father's assistant. Subject: let's talk, face-to-face body. They're requesting a meeting. You pick the place. I stared at the screen. They wanted a meeting. What they got was a warning. I chose the meeting place carefully. My studio, midday, with the soft glow of filtered light bouncing off pale wood floors. The air smelled faintly of lavender and graphite. The walls displayed work I'd finished just weeks before. Sketches of playground layouts, calming color swatches, ideas for spaces that helped children breathe easier. It was calm, centered, mine. And, for the first time, they would meet me on my terms. They arrived as expected, punctual, polished, and pretending. Darla walked in first, overdressed in a cream jacket with pearl buttons and a silk scarf tied around her neck like it meant something. Her oversized sunglasses stayed on indoors, shielding her from truth. Or maybe shame. Leonard trailed her, quiet and stiff, not meeting my eyes, the same way he hadn't at the hospital. His presence always felt like an obligation he barely tolerated. And then Carlene. No knock, no greeting, just a heel click and a glance at her phone as if she had better places to be. I wondered for a moment if she even remembered why she was here. What none of them realized was that I had already gone live. Behind a tall planter, nearly invisible, a small lens blinked red. I had started streaming to a private link 10 minutes before they entered. I didn't tell them. I didn't need to. The camera wasn't for them. It was for me. For every person who had stood by me, who had sent $5 or a kind message, or simply believed I wasn't crazy. This was their moment, too. I stepped forward. I was once made to kneel, I said, my voice even but loud enough to carry, begging for help to save my daughter's life. This time, I want the world to hear your answer. Darla froze. Her hand instinctively clutched her scarf tighter. Leonard's jaw tensed. Carlene blinked, finally looking up from her phone. What is this? She snapped, spotting the red live badge glowing on the monitor behind me. You said you wanted to talk, I said. Let's talk. Darla's voice quivered. We thought you were exaggerating. You've always been emotional, Marjorie. I tilted my head. When I told you your granddaughter might not make it, and you said the money was already spent on Carlene's birthday party, was that just me being emotional too? She looked away. Leonard remained silent, his hands clasped behind him like a man in church who'd lost his faith, and Carlene scoffed. You act like your life is the only one that matters. That party was planned for months. There were sponsors, cameras, deals tied to it. Deals? I echoed. And Inez's lungs? Her life? Was that just poor timing for your business calendar? The live comments were already rolling in, fast and furious. Then, as if fate wanted its own say, my laptop pinged. A viewer had submitted a file, an anonymous video clip. I hesitated, then clicked. Darla appeared on screen, standing in her walk-in closet, facing a large mirror. Her reflection stared back hollow, unbothered. I'm so sorry for how things played out, she rehearsed, dabbing a tissue under her dry eyes. She paused, reset. We failed her, and we're ashamed of that, she repeated, this time slower, leaning into the words like she was fishing for an award. Then came Carlene's voice off-screen. Slower, add a sniff. Cry on the second line. People love a redemption arc. I didn't say a word. I just turned the camera to the screen and played it, uninterrupted. The chat exploded. Viewers raged. They rehearsed this? This is next-level fake. She's crying over bad PR, not her granddaughter. Darla turned pale. Leonard looked like he might disappear through the wall. Carlene's face flushed with anger, her nails curling into her palms. You think this changes anything? She barked. You think you've won now? Because of a stupid video? I looked into the camera, into the eyes of every stranger who ever whispered, You're being too sensitive. And I said, I haven't won anything, but now I'm no longer afraid to lose. With one click, I ended the live stream. The morning after the live stream, I was still floating somewhere between exhaustion and disbelief when a knock rattled my apartment door. It wasn't the mail carrier or a neighbor bringing over casserole. It was a woman in a slate gray blazer, clipboard in one hand, an official badge clipped to her chest. "Marjorie Lane?" she asked, scanning the apartment behind me. I blinked, still in my robe, gripping a lukewarm mug of coffee. "Yes?" She handed over a sealed envelope. "I'm from the Department of Human Services. There's been an anonymous report. We're required to conduct a wellness check today." My fingers tightened around the envelope as the hallway seemed to contract inward. "What kind of report?" She didn't flinch. "Concerns about your emotional stability and potential neglect of your child." From Inez's room, I heard a small cough, soft but sharp like a warning bell. I instinctively turned toward the sound, and the woman followed my gaze. "May I come in?" she asked. My voice cracked. "Of course." Once inside, she moved quietly but with purpose, checking the kitchen, peeking inside the fridge, noting the prescriptions in the bathroom cabinet. She asked if I'd ever been treated for depression. She asked how often Inez saw her doctors. She asked if anyone else lived here or visited regularly. By the end, my hands were shaking. I felt like I'd just taken a midterm I didn't know I'd been studying for my whole life. As soon as she left, I called Theo. "She asked about our grocery list," I said, my voice fraying. "The vitamins in the drawer, even the temperature in Inez's room. I explained every damn bandage and every jar of baby food like I was under trial." A beat of silence passed on the line. "You know who did this, don't you?" Theo said finally. "It's got Carlene's stink all over it." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. "I'm calling in help," she added. "You're not doing this alone." That night, I sat beside Inez, her tiny chest rising and falling in rhythm with the beeping machines. I thought about all the battles I'd already fought, scraping together surgery money, begging my parents for basic humanity, surviving the media storm they started. I thought it was over. But now, they weren't just attacking my name. They were coming for my child. The next day, Theo arrived with someone new, a woman in a crisp navy suit, hair pulled back tight, carrying a leather satchel that looked like it had seen a courtroom or two. "This is Katrina Morse," Theo said. "Child Advocacy Network. She's fierce." Katrina gave a firm nod. "I'm here to make sure no one takes your daughter without a damn good reason." We sat at my table while Katrina combed through documents, screenshots Theo had pulled, metadata from the report. The concern had been submitted through a proxy server registered to Fairstone PR, Carlene's PR firm. "They didn't even try to hide it," Katrina muttered. "That's how certain they were no one would push back." I laughed bitterly. Well, now they're about to find out I'm not scared anymore. The following morning, we marched into the county courthouse, Katrina beside me, Theo just behind. The moment I handed in the complaint was surreal. I had spent months feeling small, like I didn't matter, like I was just noise in a world too busy to hear me. Now, I was the storm. The complaint was official: defamation, intentional interference with custodial rights, and false reporting with malicious intent. No more begging, no more defending. This was offense. As we stepped back out into the light, Inez walked beside me, sipping juice from a tiny box packed by Theo. The air was crisp, almost celebratory. It smelled like sidewalk chalk and new leaves. I looked down at my daughter's hand in mine, and then back at the courthouse doors we'd just come through. "Next time she comes for us," I whispered, "I won't wait to defend myself. I'll be ready." I didn't reply to the assistant's email right away. Instead, I read it twice, then again. I let the silence sit there, not as a punishment, but as a statement. I was no longer the one waiting. 2 days later, I responded with one line. "You want to meet? Fine. Come to my office, Tuesday, noon sharp. Bring nothing but yourselves." When the day arrived, I made sure every camera in my studio lobby was working. My assistant, Janelle, cleared the space except for one security guard I trusted and an audio tech who'd signed an NDA. A small black suitcase sat on the glass table in the center of the room. At 11:58 a.m., the elevator dinged. They walked in like they'd rehearsed it. Darla in a beige shawl, Leonard in a stiff blazer, and Carlene in sunglasses far too large for an indoor setting. I didn't stand. I didn't greet them. "You asked for a face-to-face," I said. "This is as close as it gets." They hesitated before sitting. There was tension in the air so thick it muffled sound. Darla looked at the suitcase. Is that $200,000 from the fundraiser? What's left after legal bills, studio payments, and my daughter's care? Leonard leaned forward slightly. We didn't expect this. You never expect consequences, I replied. That's part of the problem. Darla swallowed and reached for the handle, brushing the polished leather like it might bite her. I watched her. Before you touch that, know this. Once you take it, we are finished. For good. She blinked, confused. What do you mean? Carlene scoffed. Is this another one of your dramatic performances? I ignored her and kept my eyes on my mother. This isn't forgiveness. It's not trust. It's not some weird final olive branch. This is a severance package. Darla's hand paused. Her lip trembled. You're giving this to us? No, I said slowly. I'm giving it away, so I can walk away, so you can't say I owe you anything. Ever. The silence that followed cracked something inside me. It wasn't rage, it was clarity. Twist S7 had landed, and the air shifted in the room like something sacred had just been broken. Carlene stood abruptly. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said. It makes me free. By Thursday morning, the footage had leaked. Again. Not by me, though I'd left the studio's security feed running for a reason. Someone else had uploaded the clip. Maybe Janelle. Maybe the audio tech. Maybe one of the building's guards who'd seen too much over the past few months. But by the time Inez finished her morning checkup, the clip had gone viral. The suitcase scene was trending. Darla's teary-eyed, "This money means so much," speech didn't hit the way she thought it would. Not when people already knew how she'd rehearsed the last one in front of a mirror. Brand deals dropped Carlene like a bad check. Leonard's name was quietly scrubbed from the board of 3 nonprofits. Darla's spa? Online reviews tanked it overnight. It wasn't revenge, it was exposure. And exposure didn't need a sword. It just needed a light. A week later, Inez and I sat on a park bench near the duck pond we used to visit when things were simpler. She rested her head on my shoulder. I sipped bad coffee from a paper cup. The world hadn't changed, but I had. Will Grandma ever come back? Inez asked, her voice sleepy. I brushed a crumb from her sleeve. She already did, I said. And then, she left again? I didn't say it with bitterness, just finality. 6 months later, spring came early to Portland. The cherry blossoms outside my apartment cracked open like they'd waited all winter just to say, "You made it." The air smelled faintly of fresh soil and rosemary. Theo had planted a small herb garden by the side fence, and Inez helped water it every morning in her dinosaur rain boots, even when the sky was clear. I stood at the edge of the yard, wiping my hands on a towel, watching Theo and Inez crouched side by side, pressing basil stems into soft earth. You think it'll survive? Theo asked, half to me, half to the dirt. Better than we did, I said, smiling. There was no need to say more. My studio had bounced back. New clients, most of them referred by folks who had followed the livestream saga, filled our calendar. We'd even landed a project renovating a shelter for single moms. Funny how life loops back when you let it. Inez, now attending school full-time again, had regained color in her cheeks. Her appetite returned. Her laugh, once hesitant and small, now echoed through our apartment daily. She was strong, we both were, but there were moments. Sometimes I'd catch a song playing at the grocery store, something from the era when I still hoped Carlene would be proud of me, or that my mom might remember my birthday without a Facebook notification. A flicker of an old photo on my timeline. A smell from a childhood dish. A certain word Inez used without knowing its weight. The ache never left. It just softened. It no longer dictated my mornings. It didn't stain my nights. It simply lived there, like scar tissue under skin. Not gone, but no longer tender to the touch. Healing, I'd learned, wasn't a goal. It was a rhythm. No one from the other side ever reached out again. Not even after the news ran stories about Leonard's frozen accounts. Not after Carlene's last influencer deal went under and she quietly deactivated all her social platforms. She moved to Florida, someone told me. Went dark. Even her PR firm changed its name. And Darla, her spa closed. Yelp took care of that in under 3 weeks. But I didn't gloat. I didn't screenshot headlines or forward links. I didn't say, "See, they deserved this." because it was never about watching them fall. It was about learning how to stand. That night, we had dinner at home, our family, the one I chose. Theo made her famous skillet lasagna. Dorian brought his sourdough bread. Avis baked a peach cobbler so sweet it tasted like Sunday mornings in Georgia. Inez helped set the table, carefully placing napkins at each plate like they were crystal. She wore her new school backpack through the whole meal, refusing to take it off. "I want to be ready," she said proudly, "for tomorrow." Theo winked at her. "That's my girl." Laughter filled the kitchen. No cameras, no scripts, no tension behind smiles. Just a room filled with people who had shown up and stayed. Later, while everyone was finishing dessert, I stepped onto the balcony with a glass of water. The city pulsed below, calm and wide. I took a long breath. I thought of everything it had taken to get here, every insult swallowed, every phone call ignored, every day I showed up even when no one else did. And I thought of the question Inez had asked months ago in that park. Will Grandma ever come back? The answer lived in my bones now. Blood might connect us. But love? Love is the only thing that makes someone worth calling family. You know, if you'd asked me a year ago what strength looked like, I might have said something like, never crying, or never backing down. But I've learned something much harder, and more honest. Strength isn't about pretending you're unbreakable. It's about rebuilding yourself after you've been broken, and choosing not to become like the people who shattered you. I used to think love had to come from the people who raised you. But now, I know family is built on choice, not blood. Loyalty, not obligation. And forgiveness doesn't mean returning to the fire that burned you. To anyone out there who feels overlooked, unloved, or betrayed by their own family, I see you. I was you. You are not alone, and your story doesn't end with their rejection. It starts with your decision to rise anyway. Because healing isn't loud. Sometimes it's just showing up, planting something small, and watching it grow in your own time. What about you? Have you ever had to walk away from people who were supposed to protect you? Drop a 1 in the comments if this story hit home for you, or tell me where you're watching from. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And hey, if this video made you feel seen, or gave you even a moment of hope, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next real story that might just speak to your heart. This is Marjorie's story, but maybe in some ways, it's yours too. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one.
Hey, dropout. Translate this in an hour. I glanced at the documents handed to me with a mocking laugh. It appeared to be a contract written in French. It might be too hard for you without a college degree, but get it done in less than an hour. Behind those mocking words, I could sense the intent of ridicule. They were thinking I'd probably fail and wondering how they could make fun of me if I did. The surrounding coworkers watched the exchange with a mix of sympathy and disbelief. Reading such a document would take less than 3 seconds. As I quickly scanned the content, I was taken aback because it detailed an unbelievable deal. I've skimmed through it, and this contract is just absurd. What? No way you read that so quickly. Facing his Ray's angry voice, I calmly pointed out the errors in the documents. My name is Sam. I'm a regular office worker at a certain company. Well, starting today, I'll be working at the New York headquarters. Growing up in a poor family, I started working on the ground at this company right after middle school. Back then, it was just a part-time gig, but eventually, I was hired full-time. My coworkers were kind, and despite my limited formal education, they taught me a lot, from the job itself to math and even languages. I learned a lot on the job. I always believed that what I learned would one day benefit the company and contribute to its growth. With that mindset, the company helped shape me into a respectable professional, recognizing my skills and eventually trusting me with an assignment to an overseas branch. Although my first venture abroad presented numerous challenges, it was rewarding, and I was able to build good relationships with the locals. To be honest, I have been offered higher positions multiple times, but always declined because I prioritized hands-on work at the branch. It was a decision many people regretted, but they respected my choice and let me proceed how I saw fit. Thanks to that, our overseas branch got on the right track, generating stable revenue. So I've proudly returned to the New York headquarters. Though my departure was bittersweet for many at the branch, I know they've grown enough to run it on their own. Many came to the airport to bid me farewell, bearing loads of gifts and bouquets. I waved back at them, heading back to the States. I'm going to serve as a regular worker at the New York headquarters for a while to get accustomed to working there. I've missed my home country and regard my coworkers like family, so I was eagerly anticipating my return. I gazed out of the airplane window, lost in thought. After a long time away, I was excited about returning to the States and to the impressive new building of headquarters. Starting today, this is my workplace. As I looked around the spacious office, Harry gave a brief introduction about me. The coworkers, many of whom I didn't recognize, greeted me with applause. The only familiar face seemed to be Harry. For now, I'll be assigned to the sales department, where Harry works to get a grasp of the atmosphere and work routine of the New York headquarters. There's talk about me taking up a significant position later on, but revealing that now might intimidate some coworkers. So for now they introduced me as just another coworker returning from the branch. Starting from today, I look forward to working here. With that greeting, I bowed my head, and the coworkers greeted me with warm applause. I thought this was a great workplace. I never imagined that among the young, motivated coworkers, there would be someone with malicious intent. On the first day, I focused on understanding the workflow, getting to know clients, and familiarizing myself with ongoing contracts. That's when I was introduced to a young man named James, a graduate from a prestigious university and showing promise as a rookie just a year after joining the company. Nodding in agreement with Harry's words that we both have something to learn from each other, I introduced myself. I'm Sam. Nice to meet you. I extended my hand for a handshake. After a quick glance, James introduced himself in a somewhat irritated tone. I'm James. Regardless, I was now set to work with James. Thinking back, there was a sense of discomfort from the beginning. Sam, right? Keep in mind that I'm the senior here after all. Oh, understood. The moment the department head left, his tone and attitude turned curt. However, I figured for a young and talented guy like him, mentoring a middle-aged man over from a branch office must seem like a tedious task, so I decided not to let it bother me. Perhaps I shouldn't have been so accepting of his demeanor. For about the first week, I was able to learn the nature of the job by observing James at work. Since he didn't give me any explicit directions, I'd assumed it was a learn-by-watching kind of situation, but it seems I was mistaken. You're just sitting next to me collecting a paycheck, aren't you? A little old to be doing that. That day, out of the blue, he dropped that comment, and I was taken aback. I had been diligently taking notes while watching James's work, ensuring I understood the workflow. I made it a point to remember all our clients and contract details and was already strategizing about future dealings. But to him, it seemed like I was slacking off. Before I could even explain the misunderstanding, James turned to chat with a passing female coworker. Where's that coffee going? It's for Harry's office. He has a visitor, the female coworker responded. James quickly took the tray from her without even glancing at her puzzled expression. He turned to me and said, You're just hanging around today too, aren't you? Do this simple task. I carefully took the tray, making sure not to spill the coffee. But it's okay. Let's get the guy who's been doing nothing all week to do some work, all right? Please take it to the reception room. The female coworker, looking troubled, gave a slight bow, and James said, No need for that. Now get moving, pushing me along with those words. Though I was confused, it was still a task I had been assigned. If I didn't hurry, I'd end up making the guests wait. Understood. Saying that, I carried the coffee to the reception room. From then on, his arrogant attitude only got worse. He blatantly looked down on me, hurling insults my way. I wondered what I had done to upset him. I couldn't recall doing anything to deserve such disdain, leaving me puzzled. Nevertheless, I'm currently in a position to learn under him at work. I had no choice but to endure it. Hey, old man, copy this for me. We need it for the meeting, so make sure you get enough copies for all the members. A stack of papers was thrown carelessly at me. As I bent down to pick up the papers I had dropped, I could hear James's mocking voice. Typical old man, so useless. With just those words, he returned to his desk without another glance in my direction. A sympathetic coworker tried to help me, but after getting a sharp look from James, he just said, "Sorry," with a regretful look on his face. "Don't worry about it. It's my job." I replied to the kind coworker while gathering the documents. Afterwards, I made copies for everyone, secured them with paper clips, and made my way to the conference room. "You're late." The moment I entered, I was met with a shout. I thought there was still time before the meeting began. Confused, I distributed the documents to the coworkers. The meeting time was moved up. A female coworker whispered to me. It seemed I hadn't been informed of the change in schedule. Feeling like a small act of malice had pierced my heart, I took my seat. "Why are you sitting? You're not part of this meeting, old man." James's sharp voice echoed throughout the conference room. "I'd like to understand about the new product." I responded, feeling the situation was completely unfair. At that, James visibly scowled. "We're telling you to leave because even if you listen, it won't be of any use." His disgruntled voice drew the attention of everyone in the room. Some looked annoyed, some pitied me. Their glances hurt, and I decided that staying would only be a nuisance. "I understand. Excuse me." I quietly said that and left the conference room. Behind the door I had softly closed, I bit my lip with sadness and frustration. I had returned to the NY headquarters to work, yet they wouldn't let me do anything. Still, I'm not in a position to defy James right now. Harry told me to learn from him. I don't want to let him down. If I can't attend the meetings, all I can do is dive deep into the documents, research the details, and understand them throughout the hours-long meeting. I did what I could in my own way. The new product discussed in the meeting was set to be pitched to a major international company. James is at the center of this project. He's running around various places as if he's forgotten about my existence. Right now, I'm left behind in the office, sorting and processing the expense documents he told me to handle. Occasionally, there are receipts mixed in that shouldn't be processed as expenses, so I discreetly set them aside for later clarification. I plan to ask about the details later. However, for such a big project, I think James is making too many unilateral decisions. Each time he returns, he gives instructions to the coworkers, but he seems to be the only one who knows the detailed status of things. This way, tasks that need to be done or networking when he's not around can't be completed. I believe the product is being manufactured in a factory, but has he checked on its operation status? Looking around, many coworkers seem unsure about what to do next, their hands idle. While I'm pondering this, James returns. His face is flushed, filled with elation. Walking back with great pride, he approaches me with a smug look on his face. "Hey, old dropout, translate this in an hour," he says. I glance at the documents handed to me with mocking laughter. It appeared to be a contract written in French. "It might be too hard for you without a college degree, but get it done in less than an hour," he adds. I call out to James as he is about to walk away. "Hold on, this is a contract for a new product, right?" "Yeah, so what?" he responds, scoffing. I've skimmed through it, and this contract is just absurd. "What? No way you read that so quickly," he says, raising his voice in anger. I calmly point out the errors in the documents. First, the amount listed here is off. The contract itself is simple enough that anyone could read it in a few seconds. I begin by reading out the contract quickly. Not just James, but the other coworkers also look at me in surprise. The wording seems fine, but this is in euro notation. What? What are you talking about? That can't be right, James exclaims, snatching the contract from me and taking another hard look at it. He is visibly shaken by the amount listed. The fact that the amount is sneakily written in small, messy handwriting suggests that the other company is definitely shady. Still, if one were to carefully check, it would be obvious. To begin with, it's clear they're taking us lightly if they think they can pull something like this. Thankfully, the contract hasn't been finalized yet. There's still a chance to fix things. Can someone please call Harry as soon as possible? I ask. Whoa, old man, don't go making decisions on your own, James shouts. I glance at the shouting James and quickly think about my next move. James, the contract mentions that we need to provide samples before the deal, right? Yeah, that's right. It's a big deal. That's standard procedure, he replies. Have you informed the factory about this? In my words, James hesitates. Most likely, the factory wasn't informed about the sample provision. Come on, even without saying, we surely have some samples ready, don't we? We can't be sure of how many surplus units we have without checking with the factory. I explain. I immediately made a call to the factory. The workers there, surprised by the urgent call from the NY headquarters, promptly connect me to the factory manager who, fortunately, was nearby. I quickly brief him on the current situation and check how many samples we can provide. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to meet the numbers our client had specified. I know it's a stretch, but can we ramp up production to meet the deadline? For you, Sam, we'll make it work. Don't sweat it, the factory manager says, willing to cooperate. I felt sorry, but it seemed like we would have to ask the workers for some overtime. Thank you, I really appreciate it. I send my deepest gratitude to them. Sam, what on earth happened? Harry arrives. James, pale-faced, pleads with the director. Director, this guy messed with my contract. Everyone present knew that James was the one who initially brought the contract. He probably wasn't aware of the nonsense he was spouting. However, it was clear he was trying to pin his mistake on me. This realization made me profoundly sad. Harry, there were discrepancies in the contract. Here's the translated version, I say. Upon reading the document I handed over, his face changes. If we went through with this deal, our company would suffer immense losses. We haven't finalized the deal yet. I'll contact the client. H. What do you think you're doing? It's my contract. I'll make the call. James insists. James, keep quiet for a moment. Harry sternly interrupts. Sam, can I trust you with this? Of course you can, I responded. Harry's words, filled with trust, make me nod in agreement. I'd immediately contacted the client. As I begin conversing fluently in French, everyone in the office stares at me in surprise. However, I can't be concerned with that now. Time was of the essence. I've secured an appointment. I'll head over to their office right away. I'll accompany you, Harry says. We quickly tidy ourselves up and begin preparations to head to the client's office. If that's the case, I'll go too. James tries to persist, but Harry gives him a cold stare. Do you even comprehend the gravity of what you've done? James is at a loss for words, and I say nothing. Now is not the time for that. Leaving a visibly exhausted James behind, we leave the office. As a result, we successfully negotiate with the client and manage to make a deal that satisfies both parties. At first, they seemed to look down on us, but when I began speaking in their language, they quickly changed their attitude and engaged in a balanced conversation. It seems they never intended to act so unscrupulously from the beginning. They realized there was an oversight in the contract and mentioned how relieved they were that a competent representative came to rectify it. Apparently, James's French was hard to understand, and to make matters worse, rather self-absorbed. While we do conduct our transactions in English, it's not their native language. That's precisely why one must be cautious with pronunciation and word choice. James's way of speaking lacked sincerity. This, combined with other issues, frustrated them, and they thought of slightly intimidating us. They didn't expect us to take such a contract seriously and actually consider it. At the same time, they had intended to sever ties with any company willing to finalize such an agreement carelessly. Our new James was rude, but you guys were also out of line, I say. Upon hearing this, the executives from the client side gave a wry smile and apologized for testing us. Moving forward, I believe we can engage in mutually beneficial transactions. After that, we shook hands, had a friendly chat, and then returned to the New York headquarters. I returned to the New York headquarters and enter the office, which is still buzzing with unease. Soon, co-workers rush over to me. The contract has been amended to the appropriate amount and will provide the sample products as promised. I informed them upon sharing that the director and I had renegotiated the deal, ensuring a positive business relationship in the future. The co-workers collectively sighed in relief and celebrated the good news. Amidst the jubilation, a young man stood alone, glaring at me. It was James. "What the hell, man? You stole my thunder." Cold stares surrounded the yelling James. "James, do you realize how much trouble you've caused everyone this time?" As I questioned him calmly, it seemed to strike a nerve, and he started ranting like a tantruming child. Why should I care? If everyone had listened to me, everything would have gone smoothly. I did nothing wrong. Everything would have been fine without your meddling. I'm not at fault, definitely not at fault. With each of his outbursts, the atmosphere grew colder, and it seemed my patience had reached its limit. Enough is enough. My voice echoed throughout the office. You should be ashamed, being an adult and not being able to accept your own mistakes. Quietly yet with stern authority, I addressed him. James stood there, lost for words. The co-workers just stared at me with shock while Harry gave a wry smile. This could have been avoided if you hadn't acted on your own. There's nobody else here competent enough except me. No one paid heed to James's lone outburst. Why is it always me who's in the wrong, and you, old man, are always right? My name is Sam, so do not call me old man, I replied firmly. You've never once called me by my name, have you? Why would I? Someone like you doesn't deserve that kind of respect. Seeing James refuse to accept his mistakes to the very end made me sad. James, Sam here have been instrumental in setting up our overseas branches and has been a pillar of support for 10 years. But he's just a guy without a college degree. It's true, I didn't graduate from college, but ever since then, I've dedicated my life to this company. At the words of both Harry and me, everyone in the office, including James, was speechless. He's in a completely different league than you, both in skills and experience. I hoped you would learn from Sam. I was mistaken. The words from Harry, clearly expressing his disappointment, left James utterly deflated. After that, I no longer saw James around the office. He wasn't fired. The company tried to let him go, but I intervened. Though arrogant and self-centered, he is still young. He should have the chance to start over. Now he's working at a factory as a regular worker on the floor. I wanted him to get to know the ground level, to understand the products and the people making them, and then figure out what he should be doing. Some said I was being lenient, but I disagree. For someone as proud as him, working on the factory floor would be a humbling experience. I thought this would be the best lesson for him. He might not be able to do even half of what the workers he looked down upon can do. Through this, I hope he learns it's because of these supportive workers that we can do our jobs. Being nurtured by this company, I don't want to abandon him. I hope he bounces back from this setback, and someday we can work side by side. That's my wish. Months have passed since then, and work has been running smoothly. As for me, I've been promoted to Sales Department Director. Harriet is now an Executive Vice President. My relationships with the co-workers are strong, and we have a solid partnership with the clients. even the ones we had the contract issues with. Looking back, this company saved my life, and now I'm back at the New York headquarters, supporting the company as one of its pillars. I'm liaising with our overseas branches, and we're making progress with new product development. The fruits of my labor over the years are finally paying off. I couldn't be happier. I will continue to grow alongside this company. I watered the small cactus on my desk before heading to a meeting. By the time I returned, the cactus had blossomed with a tiny flower. Facing the parking lot, I thought fondly of my beloved old car. Robert, you really err. As I turned toward the voice, Sophia looked at me with a calm expression. My name is Robert, and I'm 26 years old. I joined my current company as a skilled employee with prior work experience 2 years ago. The company is a small programming firm. As a software engineer, my days are spent in front of a computer. Most of my colleagues are also intensely focused on their computers. For someone like me who's not great at communicating, it's the perfect workplace. Today, everyone on the floor is quietly getting their work done, except for this one colleague. Hey, I need to talk to you. This is Samantha. She's 24, younger than me, but she joined the company right after high school. She's been here for nearly 6 years, making her a veteran. She handles administration, accounting, and miscellaneous tasks. She's pretty meticulous at her job, but what a character. Bright blonde hair, perfect makeup and nails, and daily changing perfumes. She's just a different breed. The floor, usually quiet, tends to be lively whenever she speaks to someone. What is it? Naturally, I, who am not fond of communication, find Samantha challenging. We sit far apart, so she rarely speaks to me. What does she want today? Why don't you go on a blind date? A blind date. I couldn't help but exclaim in a ridiculous tone. At that, Samantha burst into laughter. Don't take it so seriously. There's this really cute girl, one of my colleagues. You know? Aren't you interested? Not really. I cut her off sharply. The woman Samantha is trying to set me up with. I just don't feel like we'd be a good match. Ah, come on. Just meet her. Just when I thought the conversation was over, she persisted. I'm not interested in dating right now. I thought I had cut her off sharply, but Samantha was unfazed. So maybe you'll get interested once you meet her. Seriously, don't you find everyday life a bit bland? I've never seen you looking like you're having fun. She said this bluntly. Since she's always like this, her words don't particularly hurt me. I'm satisfied with my life as it is. Besides, Samantha, what are you thinking of introducing someone like me? No offense, but I'm a plain guy. I know it's one thing to say it myself, but it irks me when others do. All the guys around me are so loud. I thought maybe it'd be refreshing to have someone like you around for a change. That was quite an insult. Naturally, my answer was a firm no. But right, it's settled then. This Sunday at 10 a.m., meet at Central Station. You have a car, right? Come pick me up in your car, okay. She had forcefully decided on the time and place. I said I'm not going. It's impossible. Please ask someone else. How about asking Ryan? When I casually mentioned Ryan, his eyes widened and he shook his head vigorously. Robert is the one I want this time. Are you really going to turn down a colleague's request? I won't do your errands anymore. I won't even process your expenses. Are you okay with that? That would be a problem. But just as I was about to complain further, our manager Brandon shouted in anger, Samantha, enough. Good. Brandon finally intervened. Just as I thought this issue was resolved. Robert, just give in and go. She's making too much noise. Followed by an unbelievable continuation. Yes, look, it's an order from the manager. I tried to protest, Samantha cutting off her exclamations. But come on, it's a good experience. Maybe non-assertive men are the trend now. But as an American man, Brandon suddenly fired up, lectured me for about 20 minutes. I decided to give up. Fine, I'll go on Sunday. It seems she targeted me out of novelty, but I planned to bow out within 5 seconds of the meeting. On Sunday, I dressed casually and arrived at the meeting spot in my beloved car. After parking, I met up with them at the station concourse next to Samantha, who was wearing an even flashier miniskirt than usual. Her hair wasn't as flashy as Samantha's, but still dyed brown. Her makeup was impeccable with false eyelashes, and she wore a long skirt. Samantha was teasing her. "Hey Sophia, what's with that outfit? You're less enthusiastic than usual. Where's your sexy miniskirt? Don't spill the beans, Samantha." So she usually wears more revealing clothes. "Isn't your perfume too mild today, hey?" "But Samantha, you said, milder is better." "I did say that, but isn't this too mild, right, Robert?" Honestly, I couldn't care less. I really think we're just too different. "Ah, this is Sophia," Samantha introduced us, ignoring my confusion. The woman introduced herself cheerfully. "I'm Sophia. Very happy to meet you today." "I'm Robert. Nice to meet you." As I mumbled my greeting, Samantha immediately retorted, "Cheer up. Stand up straight. And what's with that outfit? You knew you were meeting a girl, right? You could have put more effort into it." "I should have chosen an outfit for you." Samantha was as loud as ever this early in the morning. "This is my best outfit, though." Samantha was shocked by my blurted reply, and Sophia burst out laughing. Did she just laugh? That's funny. I didn't know what exactly tickled her, but my appearance didn't make her decline the blind date. "Then let's head over to the cafe in Robert's car. We can talk more there." Samantha energetically waved her fist and headed for the parking lot. We arrived at the parking lot and walked toward my beloved car. As we approached, Samantha's face grew increasingly pale. "Please get in." When I unlocked my old cherished car, Samantha screamed. "I had a hunch, but is this junker really your car?" "Calling it a junker is rude. It's an old compact car that I've been taking good care of. Sure, the paint is peeling here and there, and it's faded. It might look ready for the yard, but I maintain it well, and it still runs fine. I'm riding in this." "I can't. It's you." "Samantha, I knew you would say that." "Now, Sophia, you feel the same, right?" Nodding, I was ready to call it quits there. "That's super cute, though." "What?" "Samantha," and I froze. "Wow, it's a two-seater. So cute. It looks adorable with its compact shape and faded color. Can I ride in it?" Sure." Overwhelmed by the enthusiasm, I agreed. Sophia happily climbed into the car. She buckled up and sat up straight. "Hey, Samantha, what's going on here?" "What do you mean?" "Well, normally someone would politely refuse after seeing this car, right?" "It's fine. Sophia seems to like it. But I have no plan." Just as I was about to say more, Samantha's phone rang. "Oh, it's my boyfriend." "No way. He's free to meet now." Lucky. I had a bad feeling. "Okay, I don't want to ride in this car. You two have fun, just as I expected. Give me a break. I can't do this without you, Samantha." I'm not good at talking. As I protested, Samantha seemed preoccupied with thoughts of her boyfriend. It's okay. Sophia will do the talking." "Okay, Robert." Smirking, she leaned in close. "Make sure you get her with that." Samantha vanished into the station concourse at the speed of light. "Where's Samantha?" When Sophia realized it was just going to be only me, she looked a bit uneasy. "She's got a date with her boyfriend, so it's just us two now." "Awkward, right? I'll just take you home today." I hinted at disbanding, but Sophia responded, "Oh, that's great for Samantha. She's been looking lonely lately." "Oh, can I go to the restroom? I'll be back in 5 minutes." Though she could have taken the train home without saying a word, I nodded, watching her walk away. When Sophia returned, she seemed like a different person. Sorry, I touched up my makeup. If I had shown up in front of Samantha like this, she would have teased me. The makeup Sophia wore was more natural, almost like she was barefaced. Recently, my makeup has been too heavy. Oh, how is it? Weird. Her slightly embarrassed expression was unexpectedly cute. It's fine either way, but Sophia flinched slightly. You don't have to force yourself. Then Sophia blushed slightly and said, Since we've just met, please feel free to point out anything odd about me. Oh, that was quite rude of Samantha, wasn't it? I'm sorry. She didn't mean any harm. Ah, indeed she did tear into my car quite a bit. She's notoriously blunt at work too. But it's okay. She may speak harshly, but at heart she's a good person. I know that. She's also meticulous at her job, and she even makes coffee daily, keeping each employee's preferences in mind. Saying this, Sophia looked as if she herself had been praised. Are you sure this is okay? Suddenly, just the two of us. Ah, it's fine. Let's go. So the blind date continued. I'm not good at making conversation, and surely if the silence in the car drags on, she will tire of a plain guy like me. I tried to steel myself, but then. Do you want some chewing gum? Water? I brought a variety of things. Do you prefer sweet or salty snacks? What do you like to do on your days off? Her words bombarded me like an unstoppable deluge. There was hardly a moment of silence, and there I was, unable to respond well. Gradually, I began to sink into self-loathing. Ah, this is fun. Hearing that, I blurted out, I'm not looking to date anyone right now. Without any context, I had blurted out my true feelings. I was slightly irritated that Sophia called our quiet car ride fun. I wasn't providing any entertainment. There's no way it could actually be fun. We should end this farce quickly. It's a waste of both my time and Sophia's. At a red light, I glanced at Sophia's face, and she responded with a smile. That's okay. Her smile seemed a bit clouded. Don't be so serious. Oh, are you tired from driving? Should we take a break somewhere? The tense atmosphere lightened slightly. In the end, my statement only seemed to make her more considerate. Feeling unbearable, I suggested going to a movie. Sophia's eyes sparkled. A movie date, yay. I want to buy caramel popcorn. I had only suggested it because it meant 2 hours without needing to talk. Yet she was excited. I sank deeper into self-disgust. Wow, what's that? Where did that come up before? That line was funny, wasn't it? That was naive of me. People who love to talk will talk anywhere, seemingly aware of disturbing other people. She whispered in my ear in a hushed voice. It was ticklish. Suddenly, I realized, wait, is she taller than me? Sophia's face was above my line of sight. Oh, maybe it's just her good posture. I've always been a bit slouched. I had noticed her good posture even in the car. As I was momentarily captivated by her posture, she offered me some popcorn. I hadn't really wanted any. Reflecting back, she had offered drinks and chewing gum while driving too. I felt a warm feeling inside. It reminded me of how my grandmother used to show her care. After the movie, the question arose, where to next? I shouldn't be swept away by Sophia's cheerful disposition. I needed to be clear. Sorry, continuing this is a waste of time. I really don't want to date anyone, and we're just too different in personality and everything. I'll drive you home. Let's call it a day. Sophia looked surprised and a bit resigned. Understood. But there's just one place I'd like to stop by before we head back. Is that okay? So, I drove the car since it seemed to be on our way home. Here, the park was a spacious park with a view of the ocean, famous for its annual fireworks festival. It was actually a place I was quite familiar with. Sophia suggested we walk a little, so we got out of the car. Unusually, Sophia was silent. It felt a bit awkward. This bench, It was just an ordinary bench in the park. "This is where you helped me," she said, surprised. I stared at Sophia. "You're the type who can't leave someone in trouble alone, aren't you?" I remembered several instances where this was true. Lost, feeling sick when I spot someone like that in the bustling crowd, I can't just ignore them. Indeed, that's my nature. My beloved grandparents were the same. One day during the fireworks festival, I came here with friends. I wasn't used to the sandals I was wearing, and they hurt so much. It became painful to walk, and I went looking for a convenience store. I told my friends to go ahead without me, but there was no store around. And when I couldn't walk anymore, I sat down here on this bench and huddled up. Then you offered me a bandage. I remembered suddenly. A memory of a woman holding her foot and looking down came to my mind. Wait, that was you, Sophia. You look so different. I didn't recognize you at all. Sophia smiled faintly. I had dyed my hair black and styled it up, so the vibe was totally different. I see, I said, understanding the drastic change in her appearance. As I nodded in understanding, Sophia continued, I was so moved, but I couldn't ask for your contact info, and I never thought we'd meet again. But there was a drinking party at your company last month, right? As she mentioned it, I recalled a mandatory social gathering that everyone had to attend that day. Samantha called me. It sucked, so we're having our own little party, she said. I was nearby, so I joined early, and there you were, Robert. I was so surprised. I asked Samantha to introduce you. I wasn't just filler then. It wasn't just a random selection. She had been looking for me, and I was the one she wanted. Surprised by this revelation, I found myself staring at Sophia. Unable to stand the tension, I asked a question. Why are you close with Samantha? Upon hearing this, Sophia smiled thinly. My parents are divorced. It felt like I had asked something I shouldn't have. Unsure how to respond. My parents were always busy too. We hardly talked. I tried to reply. Sophia smiled faintly again. Before they divorced, it was really tough. I went off the rails then. That's when I met Samantha. Just hanging out and having fun without thinking about anything. I thought if I lost Samantha and the others, I'd have nowhere else to go. So, I really put effort into my makeup and clothes. I see. Searching for a place to belong, was Samantha that place? Couldn't there have been somewhere else? My grandmother died around the time of my parents' divorce. I used to be sent to stay with my grandmother whenever my parents fought. With both my parents divorcing and my grandmother gone, I ran away from everything. That's why I'm really grateful to Samantha. If it weren't for them at that time, who knows what would have happened. Oh, but I'm thinking of moving on from the makeup soon. If your grandmother saw this makeup, she'd faint, I teased. With that, she jumped up in a panic. Just thinking about it scares me. I loved her because she was so kind, but she was very strict. I see. Your good posture is thanks to your grandmother's upbringing then, I remarked. As I said this, her spine stretched even taller, and her face turned bright red. I suddenly felt a kinship with her, and my guard came down. My parents were always busy with work too. It was pretty much my grandparents who raised me. I get it. Grandmothers are super strict, but also incredibly kind. I expressed empathy. Sophia's face lit up with joy. That car is actually a keepsake from my grandfather. He cherished it so much, and I wanted to keep it. I turned towards the parking lot, my thoughts lingering on my beloved old car. Are you? Robert, you really are. As I turned toward her voice, Sophia was facing me with a serene expression. You're a wonderful person. You care about your grandfather, and you're kind. I blushed and looked down, embarrassed by her straightforward compliment. I want to wait until you like me back. I finally found you. I don't want to give up. Is there absolutely no chance? Honestly, my impression of her had changed considerably since we first met. For the better. Much better. But then, I suddenly remembered the women who approached me during my student days. As soon as they realized I wasn't what they expected, they drifted away. Give me some time to think. That was all I could manage to say. Months later, sorry for making you wait. I just couldn't tie this ribbon properly. Does it look okay? Sophia twirled in front of me in her dress. It looks fine, but it might come undone if you move too much. Hearing this, she suddenly straightened her back, startled. I won't get too excited, but she gently took my hand. Is it okay if I hold your hand? She looked up at me with those big eyes. I was probably blushing all the way to my ears. Today was our fireworks date at that same park where we had apparently first met. Yes, I had decided to date Sophia. After that day, we parted ways. Sophia was persistent. She'd call or message whenever there was a chance. Somehow, she had managed to set up dates without me even realizing. Samantha kept teasing me, Sophia has changed. Are you guys dating? Just date her already. Sophia had gradually become more herself around Samantha. I didn't need Samantha to tell me, but by that time, I had fallen in love with Sophia, who I felt comfortable with. Sophia was talkative and cheerful, of course. She never got upset, even when I couldn't speak well. Recently, even the silences felt comfortable. That's why I was worried whether to let Sophia know everything about me as I truly am. After watching the fireworks as we were moving through the crowd, Sophia noticeably slowed down. I looked down and saw that the tops of her feet were red. It seemed the straps of her sandals had rubbed her skin raw again. Unfortunately, I didn't have any band-aids with me today. Sophia was supposed to have brought some, but they were nowhere to be found, possibly dropped somewhere. It looked like it would be difficult to get her back to her apartment by train. Maybe this is a good opportunity. I muttered softly, and Sophia tilted her head in confusion, feeling a sudden closeness. I suggested, my place is nearby, should we go there? Sophia reacted with exaggerated surprise. In the months we had been seeing each other, I had never once invited her over to my home. While I had stopped by her place a few times when dropping her off, I had never hosted her at mine. She seemed a bit sad about this. The reason I hesitated to invite her over. It was because, wait, is this high-rise yours? That was the reason. Wait, you work at the same company as Samantha, right? How can you afford the rent here? I invited Sophia inside and tended to her feet. What did Samantha tell you about me? Sophia recounted as she remembered. Well, she said you were plain, serious, always brought your lunch, and seemed like you didn't have much money. She even wondered if I still wanted you. What a description. But that was fine. That was the kind of person I was striving to become. I am plain and serious, but my investments have done well, and I have a decent amount of money, enough to buy a high-rise as a tax strategy, I explained. Sophia's eyes widened even more. Why didn't you tell me until now? She squeezed out a perfectly reasonable question in one word. Distrust. My parents were successful in business. Remember I told you they were always busy. That meant a lot of money was around. I don't live lavishly, but somehow people find out about such things. People would befriend me, and when they realized they couldn't get money out of me, they'd call me boring and exclude me. I went out with a girl because she said, I like your kindness, and then she asked me for expensive brand-name goods for her birthday and Christmas. I didn't have that kind of allowance, so when I refused, they'd call me lame and break up with me. Eventually, I realized they were only after my parents' money, and I couldn't trust anyone anymore, I confessed. Sophia looked like she was about to cry. What about your parents? They handed over their business and are enjoying their retirement abroad. Didn't you take over the business? A natural question. Maybe it was out of stubbornness. I didn't want to simply inherit my parents' success. It didn't suit me, I said awkwardly, looking down. The business was in trade, involving a lot of travel and socializing, which I found difficult. So, I thought I'd support my parents by learning about investments, helping them from behind the scenes. They probably knew I was struggling. They decided to hand the business over to someone else and told me to live freely. I was told I could just let it be, but that didn't really matter to me. I used all the money I received from my parents for college and job start gifts on investments. Whether it was beginner luck or the payoff of my studies, it worked out. My parents often said, "Why don't you spend more lavishly?" But I've never been comfortable with extravagant spending. My parents are abroad, and we hardly communicate now. But I was loved by my grandparents. Even if my parents were busy and friends or lovers drifted away, I wanted to stand on my own 2 feet. Enough of that story. More importantly, Sophia, now that you know the truth about me, what do you think? Sophia looked at me, startled. Perhaps she thought she had struck it rich, or that I had been awful for deceiving her, or that I hadn't trusted her enough to share this for so long. However, Sophia surprised me with a response I hadn't anticipated. "I'm not a match for you." A question mark appeared in my mind. I decided to ask her directly, "What do you mean?" Tears began to fall from Sophia's eyes. "I'm not a match for you. You come from such a respectable family. You've experienced loneliness, yet didn't lash out and drop out. You went to university. You even learned how to invest to support your parents and stood on your own without frivolously using their money." I felt like crying too. There have been times when I thought about spending my parents' money freely. Everyone around me expected that of me, but it was my beloved grandparents who stopped me. And now, out of respect for them, I am careful about how I use the surplus money I have. I felt that Sophia had acknowledged this. However, the silence as I pondered this was interpreted differently by Sophia. See, I really don't match up. A high school graduate and former delinquent can't even meet your parents. I'm sorry, I should go. I won't contact you anymore. Leaving a bewildered me behind, Sophia quickly exited my apartment. It was all so sudden that I just stared dumbfounded in the direction she had gone. "Pull yourself together, me. It's not like that." I shouted toward the door Sophia had left through and dashed out without a second thought. I might never meet a woman like Sophia again. Images of the Sophia I knew flashed through my mind like a slideshow. Always bright, often laughing, her posture always impeccable, her way of eating so graceful that I often found myself mesmerized. She seemed to feel complex about her troubled past, but to me, she was always beautiful, no matter the circumstances. I wanted to embrace that troubled her. Since that can no longer happen, I want to embrace her for now forever. I caught up with Sophia, and all these words that I had uttered at once became the words of a proposal from me to her. Feel free to take my wallet after 25 years of employment. I was living a poor life with monthly take-home pay of only $1,500. I met an old lady one day. The old lady claimed to be penniless. Unable to ignore someone in a worse situation than myself, I decided to give her all my savings. Then, a few days later, I unexpectedly reunited with her in a way I never imagined. "As of today, you're fired from this factory," the manager said. Afterwards, my life took a complete 180-degree turn. My name is Kevin. I am a self-admittedly dull man who currently works on a factory line. I am turning 40 this year. Due to my low salary of $1,500 a month at this age, I live a modest life in a small apartment. No wife, no kids, leading a single life. Although I have no family, there is one being I can call family. It's rotisserie. I'm home meow. I pick up rotisserie, the one who always greets me when I come home. It's a ginger cat named Rotisserie. I found this kitten abandoned and took it home not long ago. The name Rotisserie came about because I picked up this cat on my way back from buying chicken at a supermarket. I debated between rotisserie and burrito. but now I'm glad I chose this name. Though still a kitten, rotisserie is in its mischievous phase, causing me quite a bit of trouble. So today, once again, rotisserie has escaped from the apartment. Taking my eyes off him for just a moment, he seemed to have dashed out through the window. In a panic, I rushed out of the apartment and ran in the direction rotisserie had escaped. With my usual lack of exercise, I couldn't keep up with the kitten's sprint and was panting heavily as I shouted, "Rotisserie, where are you?" I received odd looks from passers-by, wondering if I should have stuck with another name. As I searched a park a little beyond my apartment, something caught my eye. Thinking there was a chance, I peered into the park. There, on a bench in the park, was the old lady with rotisserie being petted by her. "Rotisserie, so you were here," I blurted out loud, and the old lady, seeing me, hurried to leave. Meow. However, it seems rotisserie had taken a liking to this old lady. Following her slowly, rotisserie rubbed its body against the old lady's leg. As she stopped, the old lady looked troubled. Seeing rotisserie, who usually shies away from people, this attachment was impressive. While admiring this, I picked up rotisserie. "Sorry about my cat." "Oh no, I'm the one who should apologize." I petted him without knowing he was someone's cat. "I'm sorry," the old lady spoke with a gentle voice, exuding a certain grace. Yet, despite the cold, her clothes were tattered. In the midst of winter in January, she wore a clearly worn-out apron and sandals suitable only for a quick errand. Without a coat, she looked as if she had left home in a hurry. Clearly, she seemed cold. Coincidentally, I too had rushed out of my house in a hurry chasing after rotisserie and had almost nothing but what I had on. Rather than here, why don't you come to my place? My name is Dorothy Miller. I learned that Dorothy had been living with her son and his wife, but had impulsively left home after a minor argument. She had left her phone at home, and although she thought she had her wallet with her, it seemed she had lost it at some point. I guess this is what they mean by when it rains, it pours. After leaving, she couldn't bring herself to go back home and wandered aimlessly until she found that park and decided to rest on a bench. That's when rotisserie came by her side, followed by me. Your home is near Solar Station. That's 6 stations away from here, isn't it? I was genuinely impressed by the distance she had walked. I must be bothering you, Kevin. I shouldn't be stubborn and should just go home now, Dorothy said, standing up. But it was nearly time for the last train. Since it's a 20-minute walk from this apartment to the station, it would be impossible for her to get home today. I considered taking a taxi, but taxis are only available at the station square. To make matters worse, I dropped my phone yesterday while trying to take a photo of rotisserie, and now the screen is completely shattered. I can't make calls, send emails, or use messaging apps anymore. Since nobody contacts me anyway, I had planned to get it repaired after work tomorrow, so my phone is currently out of service. Public phones in the area have been removed over time, so I decided to make her an offer. "Dorothy, would you like to stay here tonight?" "Oh no, I couldn't possibly impose on you to that extent. But Dorothy, you don't have any cash on you right now, right?" Embarrassingly, I don't have much on me either. I also mentioned my broken phone and that I couldn't do anything until tomorrow. It's cold this season, and it would be terrible if something happened to you on your way home. Besides, rotisserie seems to have taken a real liking to you. Staying on her lap even after we got inside, it was going to be tough to get him to move. Well, it seems rotisserie is also saying I should stay, so maybe I will take you upon your offer just for tonight. Yes, please do. Fortunately, I had an extra bed in a spare room of my home, so I gave it to Dorothy. I let her rest there. I do have fights with my son like this sometimes, but this time it turned into quite a heated argument when I was cooking, so I just left with my apron on, which is embarrassing at my age, Dorothy chuckled. It's nice to have a family you can argue with. I'm envious. Kevin, how about your parents? Oh, my parents have both passed away. Oh my, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. No, please don't apologize. Saying that made Dorothy look somewhat relieved. Then I decided to share a bit about my past. My parents passed away just before I graduated from middle school, and as their only son, I inherited everything, including their debts. The debt was from a shady loan company, and the interest was mercilessly high. The company's representative said, "If you can pay back the $30,000 your father owed, we'll cut you some slack on the interest." So, I decided to start working right after middle school. At the time, with no relatives to rely on, that was the only option I thought I had. I found a job at this factory, which hired middle school graduates, and have been here ever since. Now, a 25-year veteran. Kevin, after 25 years on the same factory line, you could be a supervisor or something, couldn't you? Are you a supervisor? No way. I'm still a regular employee because I only finished middle school and have no further education. What? That's ridiculous. Really? The factory manager, Jake, and the current supervisor, Ryan, always say, "You'll never get promoted because you only finished middle school. You'll be a regular employee forever with this salary." Dorothy's eyes widened. "By the way, how much is your salary?" "It's been about $1,500 take home since I joined. I've been able to keep that amount since I finished paying off my parents' debt. While paying off the debt, I allocated $200 each month to repayments. Despite barely making ends meet with rent and food expenses, I've managed to get by given my circumstances. Marriage was out of the question. Before I knew it, I was 40 with only Rotisserie, the rescued cat, as my family." Dorothy listened to my story, nodding and occasionally expressing surprise, proving to be a good listener. I wondered if this is what it would have been like if my mother were still here. I'm sorry for talking about such things. It must not have been very interesting for you to listen to. No, I asked you to tell me. It's incredible that you've been working so diligently and even paid off your parents' debts. That's nothing. I think the kind person was the man from the loan company. I just did what I had to do. However, being praised for the first time made me feel unexpectedly bashful. After that, Dorothy and I went to bed, and since I had work the next day, we left the house together. Rotisserie didn't want to leave Dorothy until the very end, and it was a struggle to separate them. Rotisserie will be in a bad mood all day today. Then, Dorothy and I made our way to the local station. Before work, I stopped by a drugstore. I withdrew all the balance from the ATM. There was only about $20 left, but it should cover the train fare. "Dorothy, you need some cash. To get home, please take my wallet with you." Surprised by Dorothy's reaction, I managed to smile. "It's not much, but I think it should be enough to get you home." "No, absolutely not. You can't just hand over your wallet to someone you hardly know." "But you don't have any pockets in the clothes you're wearing now, Dorothy. And it's better to have a wallet than to carry cash in hand. It would be terrible if you were robbed while holding the money." "But what about your living expenses?" "I've already accounted for that. My payday is coming up soon, so it'll be fine." After some back and forth, Dorothy finally agreed and accepted my wallet. And until the very end, she kept saying thank you before disappearing into the station. When I returned home from work, Riser was sitting sadly on the bed Dorothy had used. But since Dorothy has her own home to return to, I couldn't keep her here. Given that Riser had grown so attached to her, I had no hesitation in giving her my entire wallet. Well, payday is the day after tomorrow, and I guess I can survive without eating for a couple of days. A few days after meeting Dorothy, I went back to my routine of work and home, cherishing my time with Riser. The 2 days until payday were tough, but I managed with just water. And after that, my salary came in, so I could eat properly and get my phone repaired. I was living an unremarkable life, and this is exactly what my life was like when. Kevin, I need to talk to you. One day, Out of the blue, Jake called me over, which took me by surprise. Jake had joined this factory a few years ago, though he's a bit younger than me at 38. He looks down on someone like me, an older but regular employee, because of his position as a factory manager. Especially after knowing my background, he would only ever insult me with remarks like dropout, older but still a regular employee, and guy with a $1,500 salary. I don't know if it was his way of blowing off steam, but he kept up his petty harassment, and it was taking its toll on me. But since he's the factory manager, I couldn't afford to resist and risk losing my job, so I just let it slide. Naturally, when Jake said he needed to talk, it made me wonder what it could possibly be about. But it also crossed my mind that he could actually have a serious conversation with me. The place I was called to was the factory's reception room. I rarely enter there, so my heart was pounding unnecessarily. Could it be? Am I about to be fired? I couldn't think of anything I had done wrong, but sudden layoffs are always a possibility. If that happened, would I be able to find another job right away? And what about Riser's food as he grows? With these thoughts, I opened the door to the reception room where Jake, an elegant older woman, and a man in a suit were seated across from each other. The man seemed to be about my age. I didn't recognize him. As I tentatively said, "Excuse me," the woman looked up. Seeing her face, I was stunned. It was Dorothy. "Why does this dropout know your name?" "I had a little encounter with him the other day." "It's none of your business." When Dorothy said that coldly, Jake awkwardly looked away. "Kevin, I really appreciated your help the other day. Thank you so much." "No, I'm Dorothy now." In a sophisticated suit, Dorothy looked entirely different from the apron-clad figure I had met before, embodying the image of a female president. The man about my age sitting next to Dorothy stood up and thanked me. "Kevin, thank you for taking care of my mother the other day. Thanks to you, she safely returned home, and our family is relieved." "No, please. You don't have to thank someone like me." Being thanked so politely by someone who clearly held the higher status made me extremely nervous. But to give away your wallet like that was all I had at the time. Even so, it's not something many people would do, giving away their entire wallet to a stranger. You think so too, right? It's not something easily done. Dorothy and the man were saying this to me, but I was just filled with embarrassment. "Dorothy, why are you here? And who is this man?" As I finally managed to say that, Jake exclaimed, "What? You don't know who these people are?" "I know who Dorothy is, but I don't know the man," I honestly replied. "That's why I hate dealing with dropouts like you. I'm sorry, everyone, for his ignorance. He's a dropout and doesn't know much about the world." Jake said, "These people are the president and chairman of our parent company. You're living in shame, not knowing even that," Jake scolded me. I was shocked by Jake's words. "Wait, Dorothy is the president?" "No, I used to be the president, but now I'm the chairman," Dorothy said. "This son of mine is the president." The man was Dorothy's son and the president of the parent company. I had never met or even known the names of such high-ranking individuals from the parent company. Given our lack of connection, I'm sorry. I really didn't know. I wondered if I had said or done anything disrespectful to Dorothy that day. Was it even rude in the first place to have her stay at my humble home? The thought made my face color drain. "There's a reason we asked you to come here today," Dorothy said. She looked at me with a serious expression. "You are being terminated from this factory as of today." "Oh no. I knew it would. Will the termination process take long?" Dorothy asked. "No. If it's an order from you, I can process it immediately, right now. Effective today." "All right, that's fine then. Thank you." Jake quickly stood up and left the reception room. As he left, he muttered, "Finally rid that dropout." But his words didn't register with me. The shock of being fired was greater than anything else. Within an hour, Jake had truly terminated me from the factory. Effective today. Here's your termination notice. Don't ever come back to our factory. That's what Jake said as he handed me the termination notice. Kevin, let's go. Please come with me. Dorothy called out to me, still in a daze, and left with Mr. Miller. I hurriedly followed them. Get in. And I got into the black car that Dorothy and the others had gotten into. Where are we going? We're going to our company. Your company is the parent company of this factory. The president, her son, gave a reassuring smile. Minutes later, I found myself in a very comfortable car on my way to the parent company for the first time. And the place they took me to was a presidential office on the top floor. Still in my work clothes, I was led there and told to sit on a plush sofa, which I did without objection. The women I saw before entering the president's office, probably secretaries, seemed to give me a cold look as if wondering, why is someone like him here? Feeling out of place and fidgety, Dorothy spoke up. The day you handed over your wallet, I thought to myself, what an incredible person he must be. Incredible? I'm not. The truth is, people generally only think about themselves. When I was running the company, I saw so many people like that. I just assumed everyone was the same. But Kevin, you were different. You helped a complete stranger, offered me a place to stay, and in the end, even gave me your wallet containing all your savings. Thinking about it now, maybe what I did was a bit odd. But then again, you were really in trouble at that time. I really wanted to thank you. But I hope you don't mind, but I looked inside the wallet you gave me. Your driver's license was in there, so I ended up finding out about you. I was surprised to learn you worked at one of our subsidiary factories. That was a surprise for me too. From what you told me before, it sounded like your work environment wasn't the best. But after seeing Jake's attitude today, I got a pretty good idea of how you were being treated at the factory. Someone as sincere as you shouldn't have to endure that. You need to know your own worth. Dorothy said that with a sincere look, and it warmed my heart. I had always thought I was a person of no value, so it was the first time someone spoke so passionately about me. I couldn't help but deeply admire Dorothy as a person. Kevin, I'm going to hire you as my personal assistant at our company. You'll be paid a salary befitting the position, so don't worry. I couldn't help but let out an incredulous sound again. I believe in you. You have the kind of reliability that is invaluable in a person. You'll learn things you couldn't learn at the factory under my guidance. Refusing Dorothy's offer seemed rude after everything she said, and I felt that I would indeed learn a lot from this new opportunity. A few days later, I found myself back at the factory where I used to work. Seeing me, Jake approached with a smug, malicious grin. What? What is a dropout like you wearing a suit here? Is this some kind of cosplay? Sorry, but we're not hiring mid-career guests today. I was at the factory, dressed in a suit. Yes, I'm here on Miss Miller's behalf. This is a document from her. What? On Miss Miller's behalf? Yes, I've been working as her secretary since the other day. What? After learning that I was working as her secretary, Jake barged into our company, proclaiming, if a dropout like him can do it, I can do it even better. Hire me as an apprentice secretary. He was repeatedly escorted out by security as this behavior persisted. Dorothy eventually appeared and dismissed him, stating, we don't need someone like you who looks down on my benefactor. Following that, Jake was demoted, relegated to just another worker on a factory line. It was Mr. Miller and Miss Miller who decided that Jake was not suitable for the position of factory manager. Since then, I've been working hard every day as Miss Miller's apprentice secretary. My salary increased significantly, and I was able to move to a better place. I even managed to get a full set of suits, marking a complete turnaround in my life. Though every day was challenging with so much to learn, it was incredibly fulfilling. Returning home to Rotisserie, my hairy companion, and being able to take him for grooming made my days even better. One day, Miss Miller introduced me to a woman. She's the daughter of a friend of mine around your age. She's a single mother raising her son, and she's a great person. I declined indirectly, saying, at this age, now of all times, but she insisted. Just meet her. Apparently, Miss Miller enjoyed playing matchmaker. The woman turned out to be Olivia, a classmate from my middle school. When I heard the name, I wondered if it could be Kevin. It's been so long, Olivia. Our reunion as former classmates led to a lively conversation. Olivia had married at 21, had a son at 22, and soon after discovered her husband's infidelity and divorce. She had been working hard ever since, juggling work and raising her son. Time had flown by, and then Olivia showed me a photo of a white cat she's keeping at home now. My cat's name is Snowball. I was torn between Cheese and Snowball, but I chose Snowball because of her beautiful white color, like yogurt, she said. So, I showed her a photo of Rotisserie. I actually have a cat too, named Rotisserie. I debated between Rotisserie and Burrito for his name. Hearing that, Olivia laughed. Kevin, your naming sense is quite something too. As Rotisserie and Snowball started spending time together, Olivia and I naturally grew closer. I also became good friends with Olivia's son, Tyler, and the three of us often went out for meals together. Mom, I'm about to become an adult. It's time for you to start living your own life, Tyler said to Olivia after one of our meals together. Then, Tyler turned to me, Kevin, my mom has worked tirelessly every day to raise me. I want her to live her own life from now on. She seems so happy when she's with you. If it's not too much to ask, please be with her, Tyler requested. Olivia was moved to tears. I ask the same of you, please, I replied. Since then, the three of us, along with Rotisserie and Snowball, have been living happily in a cozy house. Occasionally, Miss Miller and Mr. Miller would visit, and each time, our home would be filled with laughter and joy. I could never have imagined that simply helping someone would lead to such appreciation and change in my life so drastically. I feel incredibly fortunate to have met people who value me so much. Miss Miller always says, it's a bit late, but this is your reward for living an honest life. And you should have confidence in yourself because you are truly worth it, she would add. While it's still hard for me to have confidence in myself, I am truly grateful to have people who value me that much. With the intent of repaying Miss Miller and the others for their kindness, I am determined to continue doing my best. My name is David Richardson. I'm a 23-year-old government administrator. 2 years ago, I got my administrative qualification and left the company I've been working at to join the current office where I'm employed. I'm getting used to the work, and I'm generally enjoying life. But to be honest, I do have one concern. Oh, brother? Not again. Why is this place such a mess? My sister Emily visits my apartment, and she always starts with this comment, furrowing her brows and sighing deeply. Come on, I can't help it. I'm busy with work, I protest. Listen, David, I'm telling you this because I'm worried. Living in such an insanitary place, eating junk food all day, it's just too unhealthy, Emily insists. Indeed, I haven't paid attention to what I ate recently, and I've been feeling stressed living in this mess. Emily, always the responsible one, comes to my apartment almost every week, but I mess it up faster than she can clean. You're right. You're absolutely right, I concede. David, you're doing well financially now, so why not consider a housekeeping service? Emily suggests. A housekeeping service? I echo, surprised. Yes, you pay them, and a housekeeper comes to your house and does all sorts of chores, including cleaning. Even if they can't come every day, having them 2 or 3 times a week would make a huge difference, Emily explains. I hadn't even considered such a service before, but I'm not good at housework, so it's a perfect fit for me. Emily, thank you. I'll try a housekeeping service right away, I decide. That's a good idea. You can't even get a girlfriend with this mess, Emily teases. At Emily's words, I blush in embarrassment. I've never had a girlfriend in my 23 years of life. Struck by her accurate guess, I blurt out a response. Well, that's none of your business, okay. With a small chuckle, Emily leaves the apartment spotless and goes home. Despite everything, I'm truly grateful to Emily. I actually have a bitter memory related to romance. That's partly why I've been hesitant to get involved in romantic relationships. During my senior year of high school, there was a girl I liked. Her name was Claire, a beautiful, kind, and intelligent classmate. We spent almost every day studying together at the private library. Back then, I was aiming for a scholarship program at college, so I devoted myself to studying. Once we finished applying to colleges, we would have more free time for each other. I planned to confess my feelings to her then. With this goal in mind, I spent my high school days. But the situation took an unexpected turn. I was chosen for a special scholarship, as planned, but I ended up declining it. It turned out that during this time, my father fell sick and could no longer work, and our family's financial situation became dire. I decided that going to college in this situation would be too difficult, so I decided to start working right after high school graduation. I was disappointed that I couldn't go to college, but I decided to move forward and turn the page. However, the situation drastically changed my relationship with Claire. I tried to head to the library with Claire as usual, but something seemed off about her. David, I heard you're giving up going to college and you're going to start working right after high school. Yay, that's actually the case, Claire said, surprised. It's the first time I'm hearing about this. I thought it would worry you, I admitted. The college where you had the recommendation slot, my best friend was aiming for that also. Honestly, when I heard that you declined a recommendation, she was also shocked. If you were going to decline it, I wish you had given that slot to her from the beginning, Claire said, her voice tinged with disappointment. I was at a loss for words after hearing this from Claire's best friend's perspective. My actions must have been inexplicable and probably shocking. CLA, I'm sorry. It's a bit complicated for me too, I stammered. Even though we spent every day together before, I knew it. Claire's eyes were filled with tears. David, I'm sorry, but I think I'll keep my distance from you from now on. I wanted to chase after Claire, but in the end, all I could do was stand there. Regardless of the reason, I had deeply hurt her with this incident, so we ended up drifting apart after graduating from high school without resolving anything. I still feel guilty for what I did to her. Just as I was reflecting on my past love like this, something unexpected happened later. I ended up promptly getting a housekeeper. When the doorbell rang, I opened the door and was taken aback. Wait, what? There she was, unmistakably, Claire. She had grown into a stunningly beautiful, fair-skinned woman. David is my client today. Claire was equally shocked. We were both frozen in place for a while, but we couldn't stay like this forever. I invited Claire into the living room, handed her some tea, and Claire said, "Thank you," and began to speak. Even though we ended things on such a note, I'm truly sorry for that time. I heard of the real reason why you gave up going to college from mutual friends, Claire said with a genuinely apologetic expression. I was surprised by this turn of events, as I thought she must have hated me by now. No, it's okay. Looking back, I realize I should have explained the reason more clearly, I said. But you were just trying to keep me from worrying, right? Claire replied, looking directly at me. Claire had grown even more beautiful than before, and I couldn't help but feel a bit flustered. Trying not to show my feelings, I looked away and said, "Let's let bygones be bygones. Anyway, thanks for coming today." "Thank you, David. I appreciate you saying that. In order to apologize for what I did, I want to help with whatever you need," Claire said, donning a tidy white apron with neat frills and efficiently began to clean. Being a man, There were some bucks that shouldn't be seen, but it was a good thing that I had tidied them up beforehand. Thanks to her, my messy room was transformed into a clean space in just a day. But I couldn't help wondering, why was Claire working for a cleaning service? I'm sure she had gone to college, but I don't know anything about what happened afterward. Still, I couldn't ask her about every detail of that. After Claire finished cleaning, she cooked dinner for me as part of her service. As I watched her skillfully in the kitchen, I found myself wondering if she normally cooked for someone else in this manner. She served a freshly cooked hot meal. It was so delicious that I was moved. Just after I finished eating dinner, I received a phone call from work. So I told Claire, "Thank you for today," and answered the phone in my room. The call ended up being longer than I expected, and before I knew it, almost 2 hours had passed. Thinking that Claire must have left by then, I was surprised to find her asleep at the table when I returned to the living room. I gently shook her shoulder and said, "Claire, wake up. It's already 11 o'clock. What? It's that late already? Oh no, I have work tomorrow. If I head to the station now, I'll barely catch the last train." Seeing Claire panic with a pale face, I could tell she was really in a tight spot. "Claire, are you okay? You look really tired," I asked with concern. "Yes, my part-time job is really demanding, and to be honest, I'm maxed out. I'm sorry for overstaying. I am leaving now," Claire said as she scrambled to grab her bag. I quickly grabbed her arm. I couldn't let her go home alone in her current state. "David, what's wrong? You said earlier, Claire, that you'd do anything to apologize, right? So here's my request. Please stay over tonight." "What?" Claire's eyes widened. "I want you to cook another delicious breakfast tomorrow, and after that, you can leave." "If that's all you're asking, I'm grateful," I explained. With that, Claire took a shower and immediately fell asleep in the guest room. She must have been really tired. I returned to my room and ended the long day by falling asleep. The next morning, I woke up to find breakfast ready on the table, along with a note from Claire saying, "Thank you for yesterday." I was relieved to see that she had apparently made it to work okay. But to my surprise, Susan showed up at my apartment again that night. As she prepared dinner, she began to tell me something. "Thank you so much for yesterday. I was really tired, so it helped a lot." "No problem. You do seem pretty busy, though." "Well, the truth is I'm living in an apartment in a suburb of Denver with my mom. After high school, my parents divorced and things got tough financially. I had to drop out of college 2 years ago and have been working part-time jobs ever since to get by." "I see, that sounds hard. The suburb of Denver isn't exactly bustling. The transportation is not the best either. It must be tough to commute here. Also, my mom isn't in the best of health, so I'm trying to help her. That's why I'm studying to get a computer certification." "You really are busy." "Yes, but I want to repay my mom for everything." With that, Claire smiled gently. "Thank you so much for everything. Sorry to have bothered you." "Claire, wait." I stopped her as she was about to leave. "If you don't mind, why don't you stay at my place when you come into town for work? I'd love it if you could cook for me. My apartment is in a great location with good public transportation. It might take some of the burden off of you." Honestly, I was afraid she'd be put off by my suggestion, but Claire responded with a happy smile. "David, thank you so much. Okay, in return, I'll clean and cook for you." From that day forward, I started asking Claire to take care of my housework on a regular basis. I always paid her as agreed, but when she stayed over at my place, Claire cooked extra food for me. She told me that she used to get really tired from the commute alone, but now that she could stay at my place when she had jobs nearby, it had made her life much easier. Having her clean my apartment was also a great help for me. One day, my sister Emily happened to meet Claire and was surprised. "Why is such a beautiful woman in your apartment, David?" "Emily, this person is the housekeeper." "Nice to meet you. I'm Claire. Actually, I went to high school with David." Oh, nice to meet you. I'm his sister Emily. Despite my clumsy brother, I hope we get along well. Emily quickly became friends with Claire. The two of them were chatting happily, and before I knew it, they were cooking together in the kitchen. And when they ate dinner together, they kept calling each other Claire and Emily, and seemed to be having a great time. I never imagined they would become so close. Even after Emily went home, Claire seemed to be in a good mood. Emily, such a mature and cute girl. She was following you around all the time. Wasn't she a bother? Not at all. I'm an only child, so it felt like I had a little sister. It was fun. After that, Emily frequently visited my apartment to cook and sew with Claire. They always seemed to have a great time together. Watching them, I realized how much I cared for Claire. Despite telling myself that it was all in the past, my feelings for her were only growing stronger. But I knew that Claire was just being kind to me because of her job right now. Just being able to be with her makes me happy. I should be content with that. I kept telling myself that, but then an unexpected event happened. David, I have something to tell you. I'm thinking of quitting the housekeeping service soon. Why, Claire? I was taken aback by Claire's words. You know, my relatives have arranged to have a meeting with a potential suitor. He runs his own business, and it seems I could get a full-time position there if we get married. It would put my mother's mind at ease, and I've realized I can't just wander aimlessly in life. Claire chatted nonchalantly while briskly handling the housework as usual. However, she never made eye contact with me. I felt both shocked and somewhat uneasy at her words. I see. Well, I feel lonely. I responded, but I'll work my hardest until I leave. With that, Claire forced a smile and left the apartment. Even if they were not in a relationship yet, it might be awkward for her to stay over at a guy's place before the formal meeting. Despite having some of Claire's homemade food available, I didn't have the appetite to eat. Spending time in the living room in a daze, the next thing I knew, Emily had come over and was shocked to see me in a state of abandonment. Hey, what's going on with you? You're just sitting in the dark, staring into space. Well, when I explained about Claire's arranged meeting, Emily was also surprised. Oh, that's unfortunate. Seeing me crestfallen, Emily spoke up. You know, you should tell Claire how you feel. Huh. It's clear to see you love Claire, don't you? If you don't express your feelings before she's gone, you'll definitely regret it. Even if you get turned down in the end, confessing your feelings will prevent any lingering regret. After hearing Emily's words, I realized she was right. Back in high school, we had missed each other because we didn't communicate properly. I don't want to end up like that again. I want to convey to Claire just how important she is to me. I decided to request Claire's housekeeping service again and waited for her to come. When Claire visited the apartment as usual, I stood directly in front of her. Claire, I have something to tell you. Huh. What is it? I've never been this nervous in my life, but if I don't share my feelings now, I will definitely regret it. That was far scarier than getting turned down. I've always loved you, Claire. Ever since high school, that hasn't changed. Even now that we've reconnected. As I confessed, Claire was surprised and looked at me. Honestly, it felt like my face was on fire. But I had to finish. So if it's what you want, I want you to go to the arranged meeting. But if it's not what you want, I want you to stop. All I want is for you to be happy, Claire. David. As soon as I finished talking, Claire threw her arms around me. I had dreamed that she'd respond this way, and I turned bright red. I don't really want to go to that meeting either. I love you, David. Claire. I gently stroked her head. Claire, wiping her tears, continued to speak. Slowly, I was truly happy when you, David, let me stay at your house and were so kind to me. But I wondered if it was okay for me to keep relying on your kindness like that. You graduated from high school and became a government administrator, whereas I've achieved nothing. I thought there must be someone better suited for you, David, and if I keep hanging around you, it would be a burden to you. Never had I imagined Claire felt this way. We both had feelings for each other, but neither of us noticed. But I won't repeat the mistakes we made in high school. That's not true. It's okay if it takes some time. Let's move forward slowly on the path that's best for you. Claire, your mom would want your happiness more than anything. David, thank you. And like that, we held each other tightly, feeling Claire's warmth close to me. My love for her surged anew. I didn't want to let her go ever. And so we officially started dating. Claire, fulfilling her longtime dream, got her computer certification 6 months later and started her career as a web designer. We took this opportunity to officially start living together, and Claire's mom moved into a house nearby. Now we can meet whenever we want. It's a relief. Currently, the two of us are discussing marriage. Well, to be precise, it's 3 of us. Emily is having a great time with Claire, looking at wedding catalogs. Wow, this dress is cute too. Oh, but this one might be better. Sounds great, Emily. Make sure you dress up for the occasion. Of course, since it's a special occasion. Claire, you should change outfits at least 3 times like this. The two are enthusiastically planning a wedding. Oh boy, if we incorporate all of Emily's ideas, it might cost us a fortune. But seeing the smiles on the 2 most important women in my life, I can't help but think it's worth it. How did you like it? Your subscription will be a great motivation for our production. See you in the next video.